There's a paradox that nobody talks about. We think of skin color as deeply significant. We've built entire civilizations on it. Wars have been fought over it. Laws have been written about it. Families have been separated because of it. And yet, skin color is one of the most recent, most superficial, least important things evolution ever did to us. It's literally the surface. If you could peel back the skin of every human on Earth and look at the muscle underneath, you wouldn't be able to tell who was from where. We're almost genetically identical, but everyone knows this instinctively and ignores it, because we see the surface and we stop looking. So let's go deeper. Let's start 300,000 years ago in Africa. Not because humans started there, they did, but because that's when something specific happened. Modern humans emerged. Same brain we have now, same body, same capacity for everything, but they all looked fundamentally the same. Dark skin, very dark. Not because of preference or beauty standards or random chance, because of geography. Africa near the equator, direct equatorial sun, relentless UV radiation. Your skin gets damaged by UV light. It breaks down the DNA inside your cells. It causes cancer. Melanin is your defense. It's a pigment that absorbs UV radiation before it reaches your DNA. Dark skin equals more melanin. More melanin equals better protection. It sounds simple because it is. Evolution didn't invent this. Organisms closer to the equator develop darker skin. It's not a human thing. It's a life thing. But here's where it gets interesting. Humans eventually left Africa. Not all at once. Not because they planned to, but because populations grew. Resources got scarce. People migrated. Some went east toward Asia. Some went north toward Europe. Some went south, then east to Australia. Some went west, then across to the Americas. And in each place, something happened. They adapted to the local environment, which mostly meant the sun. The further north you went, the weaker the sun became. Less UV radiation, which meant less need for melanin. And here's the thing about melanin. It doesn't just protect you. It also blocks light. It prevents something crucial. Vitamin D synthesis. Vitamin D is made in your skin when UV light hits it. You need vitamin D to absorb calcium. You need calcium for bones. You need strong bones to survive. In Africa, with intense sun, you get plenty of vitamin D even through dark skin. But move to Northern Europe, weaker sun, fewer days with strong enough UV. If your skin is too dark, you don't make enough vitamin D. Your bones weaken. Your children have trouble surviving. So natural selection started favoring lighter skin in northern populations. Not because it's better, just because it works better in that specific place, for that specific problem. This wasn't a slow random drift. This was relatively fast adaptive pressure. Genetic studies show that the genes controlling skin color changed remarkably quickly. In evolutionary terms, tens of thousands of years, not hundreds of thousands, because the pressure was strong. Live where you can't make vitamin D and your children die. That's strong pressure. So populations near the equator stayed dark. Populations in the far north became lighter. Populations in between became medium. It's a gradient. It's predictable. If you know the latitude, you can predict average skin color with surprising accuracy. Equator, dark. North Africa/Middle East, medium dark. Southern Europe, medium. Northern Europe, light. Scandinavia, very light. Same gradient appears on the other side of the world. Sub-Saharan Africa, dark. Central Asia, medium. Siberia, lighter. It's not random. It's not cultural. It's not a hierarchy. It's adaptation. But then something strange happened. Humans invented civilization. We stopped being bound by geography. We built boats. We built trade routes. We invented agriculture that could move with us. We started living in climates our bodies weren't designed for. A European with very light skin moved to the equator. Suddenly his adaptation became a liability. Without dark skin to protect him, the sun destroyed his skin cells, sunburns, melanoma, cancer. But he'd already reproduced. His genes were in the population. And now there was no strong pressure against light skin because culture had intervened. Medicine, clothing, shelter, all of it buffered the immediate survival pressure. So light-skinned people could live in the tropics. Dark-skinned people could live in Scandinavia. For the first time in human history, skin color became disconnected from its original purpose. It became purely cultural, which is when it became dangerous. Because humans, when they encounter difference, tend to assume it means something. We're pattern-matching creatures. We see difference and we invent meaning. Dark skin was the norm for 300,000 years. Then, in the last 500 years, a blink in evolutionary time, some humans with light skin used that difference to justify atrocity. They created an entire intellectual framework around skin color. They said it meant something about intelligence, about capability, about moral worth. They said it meant hierarchy. They created systems of oppression based on the single most superficial difference between humans, based on something that literally has one job, protecting you from the sun. And here's the part that should make you sit back. It worked. The lie was so useful to people who benefited from it that it became embedded in law, in culture, in how people thought about themselves and each other. Even though it was completely disconnected from reality, skin color tells you one thing: how much sun your ancestors adapted to. That's it. That's all it tells you. Not intelligence, not capability, not morality, not potential, not value. One thing: the amount of sun, which itself changed radically when humans invented agriculture and built cities and moved around. So the adaptation itself became temporary. Even that one piece of information became unreliable. And yet the meaning we've assigned to it has shaped history. It's shaped law. It's shaped which humans got rights and which didn't. It's shaped wealth, access to education, healthcare, safety. It's shaped which children were deemed worthy of love and which weren't. All based on something that literally has no significance beyond UV protection. The paradox is this: we've given enormous meaning to the most meaningless difference between us. We've created hierarchy from a gradient. We've invented inferiority from adaptation. We've built systems of oppression on top of biology so shallow you can barely see it. Skin color is like looking at two phones. One is black, one is white. If you wanted to know about their capabilities, you wouldn't study their exteriors. You'd look at the processor, the RAM, the software, everything that actually matters. But if someone told you, I'm going to judge these phones entirely by their color, that would seem absurd. Yet this is what humanity has done with humans. We've judged people entirely by a feature that controls exactly one function: sun protection. The really unsettling part? We're not done doing it. The systems built on this lie, on this confusion of difference with hierarchy, are still here. They're still operating. They're still determining life outcomes, which is why understanding the actual biology matters, not because it makes us less racist. Facts alone don't change belief systems, but because it removes the last intellectual ground from under racism. You can no longer claim biology supports hierarchy, because biology doesn't. Biology says you adapted to different amounts of sun. That's the entire story. Everything else, all the meaning we've layered on top, that's culture. That's choice. That's us. And unlike biology, culture can change. We can choose something different. We can stop treating a sun protection adaptation like it means something about human worth. We can look at actual human variation, intelligence, creativity, capacity for love, moral reasoning, resilience. All of these things vary within every population more than they vary between populations. A genius and someone with intellectual disability can have the same skin color. A moral philosopher and a sociopath can be siblings. All that actual variation, the stuff that matters, cuts across these crude racial categories. It ignores them. It says, these lines you've drawn don't reflect reality. So here's what skin color actually is. It's evidence of human movement. It's a record of where your ancestors lived. It's proof that humans were brave enough to settle every climate on Earth. It's beautiful if you think about it that way. It shows adaptation. It shows resilience. It shows the diversity of human experience. But it doesn't show worth. It doesn't show capability. It doesn't show potential. It shows sun exposure. That's all. And the moment you understand that deeply, not just intellectually but in your bones, the entire architecture of racial hierarchy collapses, because it was always built on a lie. It was always built on mistaking superficial difference for meaningful difference. It was always built on choosing to see only the surface. And choosing to see only the surface is how we've constructed some of the worst systems in human history. If we could choose to see only the surface, we can choose to look deeper. That's the only real power we have over this. Not biology, not destiny, not predetermined hierarchy, just choice. And that choice happens every time we encounter someone who looks different from us. Every time we're tempted to assume that difference means something. Every time we decide, I'm going to look deeper. That's where racism ends. Not in facts, in choice, in the deliberate decision to see the person instead of the pigment, to understand the adaptation instead of invent hierarchy, To recognize that the most superficial difference is also the most meaningless one, and to build something better on that understanding, something based on what actually matters, on what's actually deep, on what's actually worth seeing.